Every time you board a plane, you pass a door that hides 42 switches you are never supposed to see. Behind that reinforced door sits the overhead panel, the center pedestal, and the glaze shield. Hundreds of controls, each placed within a hand's reach for a reason. We have isolated 42 of them. Every switch on this list exists to do one thing: keep you breathing, keep you conscious, and put you back on the ground in one piece. There is no decoration here, no comfort feature, only the hardware that stands between a routine flight and a catastrophe. We begin. Number 1. The engine fire handle. Each engine has a red, illuminated T-shaped handle on the glaze shield. Pulling it severs 3 lifelines to that engine at once: fuel, hydraulic fluid, and bleed air. Rotating it then discharges a fire bottle filled with halon. Why it matters to you. An uncontained engine fire can burn through the wing structure toward the fuel tanks in minutes. This single pull starves the fire of everything it needs before it can reach the cabin above it. Number 2. The APU fire switch. The auxiliary power unit in the tail has its own dedicated fire detection loop and automatic shutdown. Why it matters to you. The APU runs on the ground while you are boarding and powerless. Automatic suppression means a fire in the tail is detected and extinguished before you have even stowed your bag. Number 3. The fuel control switches. A simple guarded toggle moves each engine from run to cutoff, terminating combustion instantly. It is the only positive, mechanical way to stop a runaway or seized engine. Why it matters to you. When an engine cannot be controlled by the throttle, this switch is the last word. It guarantees the crew can shut down a failing engine, no matter what the automation is doing. Number 4. Engine ignition select. Pilots can command continuous ignition, a constant spark in the combustion chamber. Why it matters to you. In heavy rain, volcanic ash, or severe turbulence, an engine can flame out. Continuous ignition keeps relighting the fire automatically, so power is never lost during the exact moments you most need thrust. Number 5. The fuel crossfeed valve. This switch connects the left and right fuel systems, letting one tank feed both engines. Why it matters to you. If a fuel leak drains one wing, crossfeed lets the remaining fuel reach both engines and keeps the aircraft balanced, extending your range to the nearest runway instead of forcing a landing in open terrain. Number 6. The fuel boost pumps. Electric pumps pressurize fuel from the tanks to the engines. Why it matters to you. At high altitude, fuel can vaporize and starve an engine. These pumps maintain positive pressure so the engines never go hungry in the thin air 7 miles above you. Number 7. The fuel jettison switch. Larger aircraft can dump fuel overboard through nozzles in the wings. Why it matters to you. A plane is too heavy to land safely just after takeoff. If an emergency forces an immediate return, this switch sheds tons of weight in minutes, allowing a controlled landing instead of a structural overload. Number 8. Engine bleed air switches. Hot, high-pressure air is tapped from the engine compressors. This is bleed air, and it powers pressurization and anti-ice. Why it matters to you. Nearly every system that keeps the cabin survivable starts here. These switches let the crew isolate a contaminated or failing bleed source before fumes or a leak can reach the air you breathe. Number 9. The air conditioning pack switches. The packs condition that bleed air into breathable cabin air. Why it matters to you. Each pack is a redundant unit. If one fails, the other carries the load. This redundancy is why a single equipment failure never leaves you without fresh air. Number 10. The bleed isolation valve. A single switch can split or join the left and right pneumatic systems. Why it matters to you. It lets the crew quarantine a burst duct on one side, while the other side keeps the cabin pressurized, turning a total pneumatic failure into a manageable, one-sided problem. Number 11. The pressurization mode selector. This commands the outflow valve that regulates how fast air leaves the cabin. Why it matters to you. Cabin pressure must change gently, or your eardrums and sinuses pay the price. This system holds the cabin at a comfortable altitude even while you climb to 39,000 feet. Number 12. The manual cabin pressure control. When automation fails, Pilots take direct control of the outflow valve by hand. Why it matters to you: a runaway pressurization fault could empty the cabin of breathable air. Manual control is the human override that prevents a slow, silent depressurization. Number 13. The passenger oxygen switch. A guarded switch forces every oxygen mask in the cabin to deploy, even if the automatic system fails. Why it matters to you: above 10,000 feet, useful consciousness drops to seconds in a rapid decompression. This switch guarantees the mask's fall, every time, regardless of any malfunction. Number 14. The crew oxygen supply. Pilots have their own separate high-pressure oxygen system and quick donning masks. Why it matters to you: the masks above your seat keep you alive, but the crew's independent supply keeps the people flying the aircraft conscious and capable of getting you down. Their oxygen is deliberately separate from yours, redundancy by design. Number 15. The RAT, Ram Air Turbine. A small propeller deploys into the airstream to generate emergency power and hydraulics. Why it matters to you: if both engines and all generators fail, the RAT spins from the aircraft's own forward motion, restoring flight controls and essential instruments. It is the system that turned multiple total power loss events into survivable landings. Number 16. The battery switch. The aircraft battery feeds the most critical systems when all other power is gone. Why it matters to you: it buys the crew the minutes needed to restart engines or deploy the RAT. Without it, the cockpit goes dark. With it, the essentials stay alive. Number 17. The generator switches. Each engine drives a generator, and the crew can isolate any one that misbehaves. Why it matters to you: faulty electrical power can be worse than none at all. Isolating a bad generator protects the rest of the network, so a single fault never cascades into a cockpit-wide blackout. Number 18. The APU generator. The tail-mounted power unit can also produce electricity in flight. Why it matters to you: if an engine generator quits, the APU is started and seamlessly picks up the load. It is a third layer of electrical redundancy waiting in reserve. Number 19. The bus tie and essential power switches. These reroute electricity between buses so the most vital instruments stay fed from whatever power remains. Why it matters to you: this is the triage system of the aircraft's electrical body, automatically shedding the galley and the cabin lights to keep the flight instruments alive. Number 20. The standby instruments. A small, independent display runs on its own power and sensors, showing attitude, airspeed, and altitude. Why it matters to you: if every main screen goes blank, this single instrument still tells the pilots which way is up. It is the avionics equivalent of a lifeboat. Number 21. The transponder. This broadcasts the aircraft's identity and altitude, and lets the crew dial emergency codes. 7700 for a general emergency, 7600 for lost radio, 7500 for unlawful interference. Why it matters to you: with 4 keystrokes, the entire air traffic system is silently alerted to clear airspace and launch a response, often before a single word is spoken. Number 22. The TCAS mode selector. The traffic collision avoidance system tracks nearby aircraft and can command an evasive climb or descent. Why it matters to you: this is the technology that prevents 2 airliners from occupying the same point in the sky. It coordinates with the other aircraft automatically, so each is told to move in the opposite direction. Number 23. The terrain inhibit and ground proximity controls. The enhanced ground proximity warning system screams a warning when the aircraft approaches terrain. Why it matters to you: controlled flight into terrain was once the leading killer in aviation. This avionics system, and the switches that arm it, all but eliminated it by giving the crew a loud, unambiguous command to pull up. Number 24. The weather radar control. A nose-mounted radar paints storms and turbulence ahead. Why it matters to you: severe weather contains updrafts that can damage an airframe and hail that can crack a windscreen. This switch lets the crew see and steer around the danger long before you ever feel it. Number 25. The wing anti-ice switch. Bleed air is routed into the leading edge of the wings to melt accumulating ice. Why it matters to you: Ice destroys a wing's ability to generate lift. This system keeps the wing clean in freezing cloud, preserving the aerodynamics that hold you in the air. Number 26. The engine anti-ice switch. Hot bleed air protects the engine inlet from ice buildup. Why it matters to you. A chunk of ice shedding into an engine can cause it to fail. Heating the inlet keeps the engine breathing clean air through the coldest clouds. Number 27. The probe heat switch. It heats the pitot tubes and static ports that measure airspeed and altitude. Why it matters to you. Blocked or frozen probes have fed pilots false speed readings with fatal results. This switch keeps the sensors clear, so the instruments tell the truth. Number 28. The window heat switch. The windscreens are electrically heated. Why it matters to you. Heating prevents fogging and ice, but it also keeps the layered glass flexible and resistant to a bird strike at hundreds of miles per hour. It protects the pilot's eyes and their view of the runway. Number 29. The auto brake selector. This presets braking force, including a maximum setting for a rejected takeoff. Why it matters to you. When a takeoff is aborted at high speed, every fraction of a second counts. Automatic braking applies maximum stopping force instantly, far faster than a human foot, keeping the aircraft on the pavement. Number 30. The anti-skid switch. This is the aircraft's version of anti-lock brakes, releasing pressure on any wheel that begins to lock. Why it matters to you. A locked wheel on a wet runway means a skid and a blown tire. Anti-skid maintains grip, holding the aircraft straight and shortening the distance to a full stop. Number 31. The speed brake and ground spoiler control. Panels rise from the wings to kill lift and increase drag. Why it matters to you. On touchdown, these panels slam the aircraft's weight onto the wheels so the brakes can bite. Without them, the plane would float down the runway with no braking authority. Number 32. The stabilizer trim cutout switches. These cut electrical power to the system that trims the aircraft's pitch. Why it matters to you. A trim system that runs away on its own can force the nose up or down uncontrollably. These switches let the crew kill the malfunction and fly the aircraft by hand, a last line of control authority. Number 33. The yaw damper switch. An automatic system makes tiny rudder corrections to dampen unwanted side-to-side motion. Why it matters to you. At high altitude and speed, an aircraft can enter a oscillating roll called Dutch roll. The yaw damper suppresses it constantly, which is why your flight feels stable instead of like a slow, sickening wallow. Number 34. The alternate flap and slat extension. A backup system extends the wing's high-lift devices when the primary system jams. Why it matters to you. Flaps let the aircraft fly slowly enough to land. This redundant path ensures that even a hydraulic failure cannot strand you at an unlandable speed. Number 35. The landing gear lever and its alternate release. Beyond the normal lever, a separate mechanism lets gravity drop the gear when hydraulics fail. Why it matters to you. If the normal system cannot lower the wheels, the crew unlocks the gear and lets it fall and lock into place by its own weight, a purely mechanical guarantee of something to land on. Number 36. The hydraulic pump switches. Multiple independent hydraulic systems power the controls, and switches manage their pumps and the power transfer unit that shares pressure between them. Why it matters to you. Hydraulics move the surfaces that fly the plane. 3 separate systems mean a single leak can never leave the crew without the means to steer. Number 37. The stall protection system. Sensors detect when the wing is about to lose lift and trigger a stick shaker, a violent vibration of the control column. Why it matters to you. A stall at low altitude is unrecoverable. The shaker is an unmistakable physical warning, and on many aircraft, the system will automatically lower the nose to break the stall before it fully develops. Number 38. The cargo firearm and discharge switches. The cargo holds beneath the cabin have smoke detectors and fire suppression bottles. Why it matters to you. A fire in the hold under your feet is invisible to you. These switches flood the compartment with extinguishing agent, buying the time needed to divert and land before it spreads. Number 39. The cockpit door lock switch. A 3-position switch controls the reinforced door, normal, unlock, and a deadlock that overrides the keypad. Why it matters to you. This hardware exists to keep the people flying the aircraft secure and undisturbed, ensuring that control of the flight stays exactly where it belongs. Number 40. The emergency light switch. It illuminates the floor path lighting and exit signs from an independent power source. Why it matters to you? In a smoke-filled or dark cabin, this glowing trail leads you to the nearest exit when you cannot see your own hands. It runs on its own batteries, so it works even when everything else has failed. Number 41. The evacuation command switch. A single guarded switch sounds the evacuation alarm and signals the entire crew at once. Why it matters to you? In an emergency on the ground, seconds decide survival. This switch removes hesitation and confusion, commanding every flight attendant to open doors and get you out simultaneously. Number 42. The flight recorders and emergency locator. The cockpit voice and flight data recorders, the black boxes, capture everything, while a separate emergency locator transmitter activates on impact to broadcast the aircraft's position. Why it matters to you. The recorders ensure that any failure is found and fixed, so it never repeats. And the locator guides rescuers to the wreckage. One protects every future passenger, the other protects you in the worst moment imaginable. 42 switches, each one placed by an engineer who imagined the precise way a flight could go wrong and built the answer into reach of a pilot's hand. You will never see this door open. You will never touch a single one of these controls. But on every flight you take, all 42 are watching over you in silence. The hidden architecture of staying alive at 40,000 feet. Thanks for watching.